A&E is the first port of call for the critically ill or seriously injured, but it's also the last resort for patients who've got no one else to look after them. Nearly 50,000 patients a year come through the doors. In April, nearly a third of them spent longer here than the 4-hour target. I'm Salia Asan, emergency medicine doctor and filmmaker. I'm turning the cameras on my own A&E. Tonight, I look at resus, an area normally reserved for life-threatening cases.
It's been a heavy drink for some years. It's been too good in the last couple of days. Today, he had vomited.
The resus area is intended for stabilising those requiring immediate life-saving treatment, including trauma cases. Bangor's resus can take up to 4 patients at a time.
Can I get some help in here, please?
Never a dull day. Essentially what you got to do in these circumstances is make sure you've got enough people on the ground, you've got enough personnel to actually resuscitate 2 patients at the same time. It can be a bit of a challenge.
The demand for resus space is unrelenting, not just from 9 to 5. It's the night shift and Dr. Ovid is on call.
So I was just told that you've had abdominal pain for a few days.
Aside from the abdominal pain, 72-year-old Patricia Costello has some worrying symptoms.
She keeps on having, for the last few days, bruises, bruise-like marks on her hands and on her belly, and within an hour they just disappear, come back.
Have you been to this hospital before?
If you look at her, she doesn't look really ill, but she's quite ill. And she's got a high white blood cell count and a high CRP, which is a marker for infection. And because the blood pressure was initially not measurable and her pulse wasn't palpable, I think she's got a septic shock.
Patricia should only be in resus for a short period of time. She is critically ill. Ovid wants to transfer her to the intensive care unit, but there are no beds.
Will she stay in resus all night then?
I think so, yeah. If she can't go up, then she has to stay here, I'm afraid.
The sight of ambulances stacking up outside A&E is becoming more and more common. It's a symptom of an A&E at full capacity.
Are you allergic to anything? No?
Jan Folks is one of the resus nurses.
So at the moment we've got a situation where we're full in resus, but we're full in the bays as well, so we're trying to accommodate, trying to swiftly get patients up, but there's no beds on the wards.
I've heard a little bit about what's happened. Do you mind telling me again?
Dr. Joel Hodder is managing a busy resus. But there are patients in urgent need of care queuing up outside the A&E unit as well.
I had chest pain under here and mainly in my left arm and tingling all the way down here.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, it's only because I'm going uphill. So.
Marie's symptoms could suggest a heart attack. She's a prime candidate for a place in resus, but currently there's no space for her. Her daughter, Anne-Marie, knows the problem well. She's a senior nurse manager for the health board that runs the hospital.
So I've just seen a lady in the back of an ambulance, which unfortunately is a reasonably frequent occurrence. She was having some pain in her chest when she was walking up a hill yesterday. I'm not sure that she's had what we would call a heart attack or an ischemic event just yet, but she's leading towards that. I want to get in before that happens.
We can't do anything but wait. The doctor has been out, and seen my mum within 10 minutes. So, confident that we're here in the best place whilst we're waiting to get in.
It's not very often we have a quiet resus department these days, so more often than not, it fills up.
Another patient is able to go home, and finally there's a space for Marie in resus.
I think it's improved now. I've just got it here now.
Okay. But just 2.5 hours after Joel saw her in the back of an ambulance, Marie is already being moved out of resus to make way for another patient. This is how it's supposed to happen. 36 hours after being admitted, Patricia is still here and her family have been allowed in to visit.
They said, she's very poorly, we think you need to sort of get here. So the whole family, we all live in Manchester, my mum lives in Anglesey, all got here as quick as we possibly could. Yeah, she's been in here, this is the third day. At the beginning, obviously she was too poorly to be moved onto a ward, but now she's well enough to go onto a ward, so we're just basically waiting for a bed. I think they said
she's been next
we're priority, yeah.
Last night.
Patricia's granddaughter Kirsty is an NHS nurse in Manchester.
It's the same everywhere. We know at home, like, we can go to A&E and it's out the door. You know, I mean, we come in here and we was like, oh, it's quite quiet compared to we're used to our local hospital, but I mean, you're obviously under the same strain as we are.
Later that afternoon, resus continues to fill up, but Patricia still hasn't been moved.
Her relatives have come from Manchester. They've all just kind of come in because they're trying to give her some treats because she's finally feeling a bit better.
After 3 nights in resus, Patricia was finally moved to a ward. Sadly, her condition deteriorated and she died soon afterwards. Her family said they'd nothing but praise for all the medical staff who'd looked after her. Resus is only meant for those requiring immediate life-saving treatment, but because of a lack of space elsewhere, it's become a place where some spend their final days.